Hey everyone, welcome back. I received a review copy of the Sega Genesis Classics, and while I certainly can't review the whole thing because it's 50 games, I can give my overall thoughts on the package itself and whether or not I think it's a good package. So there's a couple of things that I want to talk about. First off, selection. Then I'll talk about like the packaging, just how like the interface, and then the features. So let's start with the selection. I think that if I were to, like, if you had asked me, hey, Bill, what games do you want in a Sega Genesis Classics? I would have said games like Streets of Rage, Sonic the Hedgehog, Shining Force, Phantasy Star. And if you had delivered just those four franchises, I probably would have been happy with that. I would probably have been like, oh man, this is great. I'm very happy. They went ahead and added a whole bunch of other stuff. Games like Columns and Altered Beasts, and not all of the games that are in the classics package are good games. Some of them are trash. Alex Kidd, I'm looking at you. I really had never played that game before trying it out on the Sega Genesis Classics, and I really don't like that game, but maybe it's just because I don't know how to play it. You never know. So I think that the selection of the games, for me, I think is fantastic just because it gave me the key ones that I really wanted, and everything else is just icing on the cake. However, that's really going to vary from person to person. So I would recommend, if you're on the fence, take a look at the games that you get. And if there's something that you really want that's missing, then maybe hold off. And by the way, if there's something that you really want from that's missing from the Sega Genesis Classics, let me know down below. I'm very curious as to what things you feel that got left out. Let's move on and talk about the interface. The interface is really, really cool. It looks like a living room, a virtual living room. There's a TV and a Genesis. You got a bookshelf there that has all your Sega Genesis games on them, or on the bookshelf. And my only criticism of the interface, and maybe this is just me, and maybe this is set up for DLC later, but my only big criticism of the whole interface is that the bookshelf, the games, there are two full rows, and then the third row, it has like a fourth of the way full, and that drives me just a little bit crazy. But maybe that will be like DLC for later, where they can say, all right, we're adding 10 more games to the Sega Genesis Classics collection for X number of dollars, and maybe that's why they have that space there. Or maybe it's just to be more authentic, but it's a little maddening to me that the three shelves are not even. That's just me though. You've got like an audio system where you can tweak some settings, and it just looks like a virtual living room. Most of the time, you're just going to go over to the bookshelf, pick a game. You get to watch the cartridge go into the Genesis and then turn on. Now, one thing I will say that I think is a kind of a detractor is all of the cartridges. They all look the same, just with the words changed on them. And I feel like it would have been better if they had actually modeled the cartridges to look like they did, with the artwork on the cartridge back in the day. And they didn't do that. It's just a very generic looking cartridge with the words superimposed over it. That's nitpicking though, because who really cares about that? I guess I do, but only a little. So I think that overall the interface is really good. It's definitely nice. Now let's talk about the features that go with this. You have online play, so you can play online with other people. And I think that's really, really cool. Like maybe I could challenge somebody to a game of Columns. Now I haven't done that. I haven't tried that. But it's a feature that's there, and I think it's neat. I tried to get my son interested in trying something like that, and he was like, Dad, I'm playing Fortnite, don't bug me. And I understand that game's pretty addictive. So I haven't tried the online features. You can go into console settings, and you can like put filters on the games. Like I remember back in the day when I would emulate old Nintendo games, and you would put like the Super AL filter or the Super Eagle filter to make the game look different. And I always thought that that looked better, and I was wrong. And I think it looks much better with just the default filters. You can also make the game go full screen. So I know we all have widescreen TVs now that we've got our PS4s hooked up to. And by the way, I don't know if I mentioned this at the beginning of the show or of whatever this is. I don't know if I mentioned that I'm playing this on the PS4 because there is no Nintendo Switch version, but it's the kind of game that I was really interested in. So the developer sent me a review copy. Yay them. Where was I? I was talking about something. Oh, yes. Okay. So you can make the game widescreen if you want, but that's cutting off the top and bottom of the screen. Well, it's not cutting it off, it's stretching it, and it just doesn't look right. So I prefer to play pillar boxed. And one thing that I like that they did is they give you the option to change what the pillar boxes look like. I mean, you can just have regular black if you want, or the default grid, but you have a few options, and whatever it is that you decide, that's really up to you. What I think would have been better is if they had come up with specific art that went with each and every game. So if I was playing Shinobi, it would have the pillar boxes covered with Shinobi artwork or something like that. And if I played Sonic, I would have the Sonic stuff on the side. I think that would have been a better idea, but I like that they give us options to just make it black if we want, or I just went with the classic grid going backwards into space. As far as any other features, I think that it's feature complete. You can save your games, which is really cool. So if I'm sitting there playing a game of Sonic and my son says, "Hey, Dad, I want to play a game of Columns with you," which would never happen because he's busy playing Fortnite. But let's just imagine for a second that it could. I could go ahead and pause my game and then open up a save slot and just drop it into a save slot, kick the game out, put in Columns, load that up, and then we could play against each other. And when we're done, I could go back into Sonic the Hedgehog, load in my save, and be right where I was when I left off. And that's something that I really, really like. I love that I get to play these old games, which I am definitely a fan of. I mean, if you look at the shelf behind me, you see all of the I like retro stuff. So I love that I get to do this retro stuff, but with the niceties that come along with, moving gaming forward as a whole. Like we've made gaming something that's much more convenient and much more palatable, and the fact that I can save anytime I want in any game that I want, whether there's an inn nearby in Shining Force or not, I can save my game. I think that that's fantastic because we all have busy lives, and I think a lot of people, they try and play these old retro games, and if they couldn't save whenever they feel like it, like I remember when I was a kid, we would just shut the TV off and leave our Nintendo running, hoping that our parents didn't notice, hoping that it wouldn't overheat or something. I was always worried because that's what my parents would say. "Oh, that's going to overheat and break. You better shut it off." Being able to save whenever I want is a huge thing because we have busy lives. So overall, the entire package between the selection and the interface and the features, I think that Sega Genesis Classics, if you like retro stuff, it's a must buy. I think it's fantastic, and I think they've done a great job. I wish that it had come to the Nintendo Switch because then I could take all of these classics with me. But right now, it's only on, I believe, PS4, Xbox One, and maybe Steam. I'm not positive about the Steam thing, but I'm 90% sure that it's on the other two. Will it come to the Switch? I don't know. I really hope that it does, and if it does, I will buy it because I want to be able to take these games with me. I'm much more likely to finish the games if I'm not tethered to my desk in order to play them. Anyway, down below, let me know, what are your favorite games on the Sega Genesis Classics collection, and what games do you feel were left out on the Sega Genesis Classics collection? I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.